This is what's wild in New Hampshire. This is what, Thursday, I think the 5th or 6th of June, 2024. I'm here with some divisions of forest and land folks. Who we have here?
Hi, I'm Bill Davidson. I'm a forest health specialist with the New Hampshire Forest Health Program.
How long you been at it, Bill?
Oh, I'm in my 8th year this year.
8th year, cool. And we came down here to Bear Brook. We're right at Black Hall Road, the other end. I happen to live about 2 miles down that road that way, but we got some stuff going on here, Bill, today. Why don't you tell us what's the status of New Hampshire's forest for 2024? We like to see what's going on in our forest and any threats there might be, or any blemishes, which I seem to see. The other day, I was going home from Manchester, and God, there's white pines had all this brown stuff all over. What's going on, Bill?
Yeah. So you might have noticed a lot of this kind of browning and white pines turning orange, and that's the result of a disease called white pine needlecast. And the disease is actually caused by a suite of 4 different native fungi that infect the needles and cause them to turn brown and fall off.
So it's not an invasive, it's just something that's been here, or?
Yeah, so as far as we know, it's a native thing. It's been here, and it's been more prevalent over the last decade or so, mostly due to wetter weather and warmer weather. So like most fungi, these things like wet, warm conditions to reproduce and thrive.
Okay.
And
yeah, we had another wet spring.
Yeah, we had a little bit of a wet spring, but it's really the conditions of the previous year that determine how bad the disease is this year. So, as I'm sure many of you remember, last summer and spring we had kind of record rainfalls across the state, and that just kind of
set the stage for this year.
Yeah, it kind of made a perfect environment for the spores from these diseases to spread from tree to tree. And so if you look real close at the branches of these white pine trees, you'll see that the needles coming out, there's fresh needles coming out this year that are just real small and just starting to elongate. And then farther back on the branch you have the fully developed longer needles that were produced last year and the year prior. And it's those needles that so it's the spores get into the new needles as they're elongating. So this year the elongating needles are becoming infected, but they won't become symptomatic this year. If they get infected this year, next year they'll turn brown. So what we're seeing now.
So how is this a disease that's going to kill some of those branches? What's the impact on the actual trees, or how about on our forest? If you get that disease, probably the tree won't grow as much this year, I'm guessing.
Yeah, so kind of what we expect is, like I said, it really impacts those second and third year needles. So all of these trees, they'll still have that healthy set of this new needles. Yeah, so the trees won't get completely defoliated. They're always going to have some needles on them. And so we expect maybe there might be a little bit of a reduction in growth for those trees. But if we have normal weather cycles and ebbs and flows of the prevalence of the disease, the trees should, if they're otherwise healthy, they should.
They live several hundred years, so you'd expect they can survive something like this.
Yeah, you would think so, yeah.
Now, how about, I just read in the Union Leader about the caterpillar that was discovered out at the Owls of Shoals. Tell us a little bit about what is that, and what's the likelihood that's going to spread?
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So we just recently discovered an infestation of brown-tail moth caterpillar on the Isle of Shoals, which it's an invasive caterpillar closely related to spongy moth that's native to Europe. It's been in North America for a long time, close to a century at this point, and at points in the past it was prevalent throughout New Hampshire, and then about 70 years ago it started receding to the point where it was kind of isolated to little enclaves along the coast of Maine and the coast of Cape Cod, and it stayed like that for a long time until recently, within the past decade. It's that population in Maine has really started to expand and grow to the point where they're finding it really far inland in Maine, and it's starting to kind of creep over to the New Hampshire border.
Will that impact our trees? Will that impact our forests?
So it is a minor forest health pest. It will infest and can defoliate oaks during outbreaks, but it's primarily considered a human health hazard. And that's because the caterpillars have what are called urticating hairs, which essentially means that the hairs are kind of laced with a little bit of toxin.
Uh,
And so if a person comes in contact with those hairs, the poison will get they'll get pierced by the hairs, and the poison gets injected into their skin, or they could potentially inhale those hairs from the caterpillars, and it can cause a nasty rash or respiratory issues,
Wow.
and in real bad cases that could require medical attention.
Wow. Now, Kyle, a couple of years ago, broke the news that we have the leaf beach disease here now. What's happening with that? I know last year when we talked to Kyle Lombard, it was kind of up to the lakes region, maybe south of the White Mountains. Does that continue to spread? And that's not good news for our beaches.
Yeah, so not good news for the beaches, unfortunately. Again, this beach leaf disease is caused by a nematode, which are really small, microscopic worm-like creatures.
Yep.
And they really depend on wet weather and moisture to be able to spread. And again, we had that really wet weather last summer, which seems like it really facilitated the movement of these creatures. And so we saw a rise in the spread last year, and so far this year, that level of spread has really exploded. We're finding it pretty much everywhere in the southern portion of the state.
Okay. Wow. Any other? Well, so basically, yeah, we're talking about the health of the New Hampshire's forest for 2024. Anything else at risk, or you see anything else going on?
There's always stuff popping up here and there, and we're keeping an eye out. But those were the major things that people should look at. Oh yeah.
Oh, spongy moth. Yeah. Kyle's over there. Kyle's here in the background.
Yeah.
Don't worry, Kyle Lombard. He's here to throw in a word or two.
Yeah. So spongy moth. That's something that was a big concern for the past few years. We had large outbreaks of spongy moth in and around Conway area and the Concord area. And again, the wet weather last year, it was good for some things, mainly fungal diseases. Really like that wet weather. So for something like the needle blight, it lets that spread, but it also lets the pathogens that control spongy moth populations spread. So that weather facilitated the the infection of these spongy moth caterpillars by a fungus and a virus.
Oh, all right. So it was a good thing.
Yeah, so we saw those caterpillar populations collapse, and we're not seeing any defoliation this year.
Wow, awesome. Good news there, Kyle. Good news. I just got to get them in there because we count on these gentlemen for their expertise every year. We come down here to Bear Brook and get a sense of the conditions of the forest, which are all in all good. Our forests are doing well. And, we didn't have the frost that last year killed off the apple crop. So things are looking pretty good here in our forest. So awesome, Bill. Thank you very much. And Kyle, thanks for pitching in there. Down at Bear Brook State Park today, talking to our state foresters that are in the know. So thank you very much, Bill. And Kyle, thank you very much. This is wildlife biologist Eric Orr for What's Wild in New Hampshire.